Hello, greetings YouTube, peace, love, light, harmony, and welcome to my channel. This will be my first video, and what better topic to start off with diet, you know, your energy, your spiritual diet. So, what does this mean essentially in the physical world? Okay, so when you eat food, there's essentially a vibration that's associated with each food that you eat. And it is essentially defined by what essentially goes into said food. You know, if it's grown, then it's getting sunlight. All the information from the divine sun is just it being imbued into it. The energy from the earth is essentially being filtrated into it. And it's also a water-based substance. So it's light, it has a lot of information, and it's basically always being cultivated by the natural energies. So when you consume raw vegetables or fruit, that's basically what you're consuming. Of course, there's different associations with colors, but that's a different topic. So, why is it important? Well, because when you drink, imagine drinking water. You drink water and you're on a fast, which means you're not eating, so you're just drinking water, drinking water, drinking water. And basically, your body naturally recycles itself, always. So the only thing that it's recycling is water. And you just become more and more water, if that makes sense. So the closer you are to an alkaline diet, the closer you are to a diet that consists of fruits and vegetables that are consistent of just sunlight, earth, information, energy, and you're just consuming that. What it means to be alkaline is just simply that the pH level itself is at its purest level, so that you are not consuming any acidic substances. So for you to be acidic would be more toward blood, starches, unhealthy fats, you know, processed foods, GMOs, all the stuff that you hear or read about. If you've probably done some research prior to having understood or clicked on this video. So it's extremely important to be watchful of this, especially when it comes to like dairy products, because honestly you're just filling yourself with unnecessary calories at that point, and then you're consuming the energy of another animal, as opposed to, let's say, almond milk, for example. It's just earth energy in a liquid form. That's it. And a little bit of protein from the nuts themselves. That's pretty much a no-brainer. Even when you think about the calorie content, I want you to go over to a vending machine and look for some vitamin water. You'll probably get 30, 45, 50 calories, and it's just straight nutrients. And then you go to milk, that's almost 130 calories, and just for a glass of milk. And that doesn't really do anything except give you steroids, GMOs, you know, and even let's assume that the cow and the milk is actually clean as possible. You're still essentially consuming the hormones and the steroids, the natural steroids, of an animal that's essentially averaging almost 5,000 pounds. So you're basically consuming something for an animal that's roughly about 5,000 pounds. We don't get that. We're not. So that's why you see the growth spurts happening and people just getting big. Not necessarily strong, because too much calcium makes your bones brittle. Too much growth at once can stretch a lot of your hormones and your natural processes thin. And so essentially you're filling yourself up with things that aren't essentially naturally for your said body. And plus you're also filtrating the energy that another animal has already filtrated. So you're only getting proportionates of said nutrients that they originally obviously consumed. And if you couldn't tell, growth spurts aren't necessarily a natural part of life. You know, you're not supposed to just grow massive amounts over a short period of time. That's not really how the body was intended to operate. So, as I said, it could be stretched thin at the very least. Well, there you go. That's kind of like the logic behind what's happening in the spiritual world and in your spiritual body as you consume the things that you consume. But that is just one out of what I'm really going to cover this today with this topic. So that's food. That's your taste buds, that's your stomach, that's how essentially it filtrates through your system. And then obviously the more water weight, the more clean it is, it's more efficient in your system. You're blocking less, so it's recycling better, cleaner, faster, stronger, and you are quite literally developing the spiritual technology as well as the technology that is in your body and how essentially you operate and break down foods. And this is extremely important, especially when you start taking into consideration of GMOs, calorie content, and blocking the receptors that allow you to stay thin, healthy, and lean. So that's food. We got a handful of others to go. So what do you listen to? What kind of music do you allow to enter your ears? What kind of frequencies or vibrations are you always around or letting into your ears? Do you protect your ears? Are you consciously aware of the lyrics that you're listening to? Do you actually morally resonate with what they're talking to you about or telling you? You know what I mean? Guns, sex, drugs, violence. I don't think that you live a life that's even remotely close to that. If you live in the modern world, yeah. So why would you listen to music that aligns to that perspective? These are the kind of questions that you should consciously be aware of when you're trying to filtrate and be on the highest vibration possible through any means necessary of diet. Diet goes long past the food or the things that you're consuming into your body for energy, because everything's energy. Therefore, you're listening to that energy. You're resonating with that energy. That energy now becomes you. You are what you eat, first and foremost. So, is it a smooth, elegant study music? Stuff like lo-fi, stuff like classical, even Chinese classical, any kind of string or natural instruments, any natural instruments. Speaking of natural instruments, they're all tuned to 432 hertz, like the sound of my voice, or someone singing, or a natural instrument, like a nice natural drum. Whereas the industry standard when they produce music is 440 hertz, which is essentially disharmonious to the natural frequency, which is 432 hertz. And it essentially creates, it's a perversion of a vibration inside you. So it's something that you should keep in mind. So the most purest music that you can obviously listen to is of 432 hertz, especially that of positive lyrics. Sometimes no lyrics at all. Nice, easy, smooth riffs, elegant things that lift you up and calm you and make you feel nice. Yeah, that's that. That's basically all your ears. You got your diet for your mouth. Okay, what do you allow yourself to see? What do you look at on a day-to-day basis? How often do you allow yourself to, let's say you check somebody out. Do you let that thought kind of consume you for the rest of the day? And thoughts are also a part of your diet as well. What do you allow yourself to seep into in your mind? What do you meditate on? And meditate doesn't necessarily have to mean that you actually go meditate. It could just easily mean the thought that repeats over and over and over in your head. And that creates your reality. So it all comes back to you are what you eat. So what are you eating? What are you allowing yourself to consume? So when you look at things, how attached do you cling on to said distraction? Because everything is some sort of distraction. So with that being said, do you play a lot of violent video games? Do you watch a lot of sexual content? Do you watch a lot of violent or horror films or gore? These are the types of things that can pervert and warp and deter your vibrational frequency. And even the things that you smell. What you choose to enjoy is what you choose to enjoy. You can convince yourself, you can train yourself, you can change. your senses of enjoyment. Enjoyment doesn't necessarily always have to be associated with what you think is good for you, because that is subjective. So, what do you think is it's all in the eye of the beholder. So you have to decide where you want to be at, what you're consuming, and what you need to consume to be where you want to be at. So the smells that you smell can affect you on a high level, because say you're around chemicals a lot, or say you're not always wearing the proper facial protection in certain scenarios. Say you are smelling the burning of flesh. The list goes on. It is simply what you're consuming. It goes into your receptors, into all of this area, seeps into your lungs, still becomes you. You are what you eat. So it's all in consideration. How mindful are you about your diet? And diet does not lose the connotation. When in the spiritual world, with diet, lose the connotation of it just being something that you consume. And you will start to realize that everything around you is your diet. What do you surround yourself with? Like, I know what's behind me, but I know I could go somewhere else where nature's behind me. Or I could go to a club and all these crazy things are going on. It's dark. All these energies are going on. People are drunk. People are high. People are on different substances. And you can soon see how intermingled the energies start to become, and you are essentially your environment. And that is your diet. The diet is the environment. You are a product of the environment, just like you are what you eat. Therefore, they're one and the same. And there's a cause and an effect. And the effect is this physical world. The cause always is spiritual first. And then it is essentially immediately associated with your thoughts, because thoughts create reality. Therefore, everything was a thought prior to it becoming reality. So now that you've thought it into what your reality would consist of, it now exists in said reality due to what you have trained yourself to produce and enjoy. So, yeah, that's a really I feel like that's a really basic description of what you are starting to think about when you want to mold and create a better spiritual diet for yourself. Not only just food, not only what you surround yourself with, not only what you smell, what you allow yourself to see, or what you allow yourself to hear, but most importantly, fundamentally, at the most basis of everything. Everything starts with thought prior to anything else. When you learned the language that you know today, you had to depict essentially the connotations of meanings through the thought, because it's associated with said interactions of world. So, even the language is thought. The words are thought. And it is just simply the conduit of how we express ourselves in this physical world, and amongst many other cultures as well. So, peace, love, light, harmony. I hope you enjoyed this content, and have a wonderful day. And thanks so much for tuning in.